Thank you for joining me for another episode of Behind the Tweet. Today I'm going to tell you about the last romantic thing I did and how it blew up in my face. Pretty typical story with me. Before I share that with you though, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you never miss out on one of these stories where I give entirely too many details about my life to strangers on the internet. Because where would we be without oversharing? Probably in a much better world than this, but I don't want to live in that world. I want to live in this terrible world we've created right here together. So hit that button. Okay, here's the tweet. I don't know what romance is, but I bought my wife another wedding band and hid it in a box of donuts. And yes, those are real donuts. They're from a local bakery here in town. Here's the story behind that. Before you understand this romantic failure, you need to understand a romantic failure that predates that one by almost exactly 10 years. So many years ago, my wife and I were in college, and we were going to get engaged. We were pretty much on the same page as this. I mean, it's not something you really in modern times completely spring on people. Like, you don't want to come out of the blue like, hey, let's get married. You probably should have talked about it at some point just a little bit, or else, you're going to ruin both of your lives, which is okay. If that's your thing, go for it. So we were on the same page more or less, but we didn't have any formal timeline. I had never made the formal offer, so she still had a full opportunity to escape. So I snuck away one day from college to go and buy a ring. Now, a little background on me, I hate shopping. I hate shopping with a passion. I hate shopping more than probably anything in this world. I don't know, maybe I hate Caillou more than shopping, but it's close. So I set out, I drive 45 miles or 45 minutes, I don't remember, it all blurs together. I drive a ways away from our college, and I say I'm going to go buy a DVD player. That was my cover story for where I was going. I had a DVD player, but the DVD player I had only played real legitimate DVDs and not the pirated DVDs one of my roommates had. I would never, ever, watch somebody else's pirated DVDs. But, just in case one accidentally fell into my DVD player, it was good to have a DVD player that would actually play them. So I went up there and I started looking for rings. I forgot about the DVD player completely. And I went first into a jewelry store I'd never heard of. They advertise on TV all the time now. I'm not going to advertise for them right now here because they didn't pay me. And, I'm not gonna say their name unless they pay me that precious 10 cents I'm deserved. So I go in there and I pick out a ring that I think is pretty close to what she wants. And I think, you know what? This is a big purchase, probably the biggest purchase I've ever made. I shouldn't just buy this first ring. So I go to the mall next door, because this was in one of the outlots. I go into the mall, and I go to like 10 different jewelry stores. This exceeds the most stores I've ever attended in a day by 10. I mean, this is way more shopping than I'm capable of. So I go from store to store in the mall, and at each store, they don't have anything that's quite right. They have a lot of stuff that's close, but it's not exactly right. And then I go to the next one, and the next one. Half the time, I'd go to one, and they wouldn't quite have it. They're like, well, let's take a look at our sister store, and they'd walk me like across the hallway in the mall. Like, there were 10 stores in the mall, and they were all owned by 2 companies. It was a giant racket. I mean, not that diamonds in general aren't a giant racket, but not buying a diamond wasn't an option. That was something I had briefly looked into. It was a no-go. If you're going to marry somebody as ugly as this, you got to bribe them with a diamond. That's just the bottom line. So I spend probably 8 hours looking for diamonds or whatever it was I was shopping for. I think we were talking about rings. Maybe it wasn't quite 8 hours. It felt like 8 hours. It felt like 6 days. And at the end of that, after going to all 10 stores in the mall, I went back to that first store in the outbuilding out in the parking lot and bought the first ring I looked at. But the thing is, they wouldn't give it to me that day. 1, I didn't have the money there. Turns out you need money to buy things. And 2, they had to resize it because my wife has tiny elf hands. So I said, okay, I'll come back with the money later. And I had to get it. I'd never tried to withdraw that much money from the bank before. And it turns out you can't just go up to the ATM. I mean, you can if you get a ring that's like $60. This ring was slightly more than $60. So I couldn't just go and get that. So I had to actually drive back to my hometown and go and write a check to the bank and have them give me the money and do all this. This took like a week and a half of planning, which is about a week and a half more planning than I put into anything else I do. And in the process of doing this, during this wait, I go and I get the money, then I drive back up to this other city far away, and I give them the money, and they start resizing the ring. In the meantime, they send a jewelry credit card to my parents' house. I didn't ask them to, they just did that. So now my parents know that I'm going to get engaged. They have this. And my future wife, in the meantime, she finds the receipt for this ring I don't yet have in my billfold. So she knows it's coming, like in a very specific way. So nobody is surprised at all when I finally get this ring and propose, and I do it in a very non-dramatic fashion that I'll describe in a future video. And anyway, we get engaged. The surprise is totally blown. It didn't work at all. Well, I guess it did kind of sort of work because I did get engaged and I did get married. So I guess big picture it worked. Small picture, no surprise. All my cloak and dagger antics were for nothing. Flash forward 10 years. It's our 10-year anniversary. And my wife wants another wedding band. And she seems pretty intent on this. I kind of beat around the bush a little bit, try to figure out if I could get her something like not a ring. Didn't seem like it was going to fly, but I didn't commit to it either. So I think, okay, this time I'm going to surprise her. She's not going to see this one coming. 10 years down the road, I'm going to avoid all of my previous mistakes. So I go out and I have to get new tires for our minivan because when you're an adult with 4 kids, these are the kind of exciting things you do on a Saturday. So this is my chance. I'm in Indy because we kind of live a little bit outside of Indy. I'm down there. She doesn't know how long I'm going to be gone. So the tires get fixed faster than I think they're going to get fixed. I was like, all right. I'm going to go down to the jewelry store and get her this wedding band. I go to another jewelry store from the same chain where I bought her original ring. I go in there. I pick out the first wedding band I see. 30 seconds in and out. I mean, it wasn't quite 30 seconds. It was probably maybe 10 minutes tops. But I avoided one previous mistake. There would be no multi-store searches. First ring, I was there. I was done. And then they were like, do you want to get it resized? I was like, no. That was another mistake I made last time. Last time I waited, paperwork was sent in the mail, everything was found out. I am getting this ring right now. I don't care if it's 65 sizes too big. That's a problem for the future. I'm just buying this thing right now. And I'm going to take it home and I'm going to surprise her because it's still a few weeks away from her anniversary. She will never see it coming. And then I'm driving home and then I think, you know what? I got to think of a way to give this to her. I don't have any romantic words or flourishes or anything else. You'd think, being a writer, I could think of these things. I can't. So I thought, you know what's better than words? Donuts. I'm going to go and buy a box of donuts and hide this extra wedding band in this box of donuts. She's going to open it up and she's going to be happy to see the donuts and she's going to be happy to see the ring and maybe, just maybe, she'll be happy to see me. It seemed like a pretty brilliant plan in my mind. So I roll up to the donut shop and it's like 1 in the afternoon. So these are not exactly fresh donuts. I ask them for donuts. They look at me like I'm crazy, whatever. You can still eat donuts at 1 p.m. There's no law against it. So they give me a box of a dozen donuts. I take them out in the car. I take the picture for the tweet. Of course, what's the point in doing something if you can't share it on the entire internet? Come on, if you don't share it, it didn't happen. So I eat one donut strategically, for the benefit of my wife, for the good of the whole cause. So I eat one donut to make space for the ring. I get the ring in there, and I drive it home. And I walk in and I say, hey, I brought donuts. And they've already eaten lunch. I was like, hey, I brought donuts for dessert. Dessert donuts are a thing. And then 10 minutes later, I bring it out, and I open it up. And she goes, oh, yeah, I figured you'd get that. Some words to that effect. Like she knew I was getting that ring that day. And you know how she figured it out? So earlier she had called me and I sent her call to voicemail and then I sent her a text saying it was still going to be a while before the tires were done. And she thought that was really weird. Where would I be that I couldn't answer a phone call, but I still have my phone and could send her a text? And then she jumped to, where would he possibly be? Oh, the jewelry store, buying this. She figured it out based on one missed phone call and a text lie. She pieced it together exactly what I was going to do. She's freaking magic. It's kind of creepy. This is why I never do anything like seriously bad. She would figure it out before it happened. Like those sci-fi crime fighter telepath things in movies, like that would be her. She knows me too well. So she figured out the engagement ring 10 years ago. She figured out the wedding band now. Now, don't get me wrong. She was still happy to get it. But there was no surprise. So I'm really going to surprise her for our 20th anniversary by getting her nothing. She won't see that one coming. Although that whole predicting future crimes thing might come in handy when she murders me. Maybe I should get her something after all. So anyway, that's the story of the ring in the donuts. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Behind the Tweet. Please click that subscribe button so I know that you want to see more of these, or, don't click it if you don't want to see more of these. Perfectly understandable. All right, thanks, and I'll hopefully catch you next week.